Good, everyone. Today, I'm going to be teaching you about how to rationalize a denominator. Your mission right now is to get rid of the radical in the denominator in this expression. How would you get rid of the radical 2? Well, all you have to do is just multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 2. So 1 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 2. And the square root of 2 times the square root of 2. Well, we know that the square root times itself, so square root times the same square root of something, is just a number without the square root. So square root of 2 times square root of 2 is just. And you see how all we're doing is essentially multiplying this expression by 1, because square root of 2 divided by square root of 2 is just 1. All we're trying to do is just alter this expression a little bit so that this expression is a bit more clear. Now, given that we have this expression, 7 divided by 8 minus radical 3, how will we get rid of the radical in this denominator? Well, we have to do something called multiply by the conjugate. So, what that means is that you just multiply the top and the bottom by the denominator, except that you have the sign changed. So, if you have, let's say, 8 plus radical 3, you would multiply the top and the bottom by 8 minus radical 3. And in this case, since we have 8 minus radical 3, we would multiply the top and the bottom by 8 plus radical 3. And I'm going to tell you why once we finish this problem. So for the top, for the numerator, all you have to do is distribute the 7 to the 8 and the radical 3. So for the numerator, you're going to get 56 plus 7 radical 3. And for the bottom, you just have to do FOIL. You just have to FOIL the bottom. So multiply 8 by 8, you get 64. Multiply 8 by radical 3, you get 8 radical 3. Multiply negative radical 3 times 8, that's 8 negative 8 radical 3. And then we just have to multiply the negative radical 3 times the radical 3. So we'll get negative 3. And now you see how the middle terms, so the 8 radical 3 and the negative 8 radical 3 cancel out, and then we're left with 56 plus radical 3 divided by 64 minus 3. And that simplifies to 56 plus radical 3 divided by 61. And the reason why it's so important to multiply by the conjugate is because, first of all, you get rid of the middle terms. So you see how when we were foiling this expression, you had a positive 8 radical 3 and a negative 8 radical 3. And you see how those two terms canceled each other out. And the second reason why you have to multiply by the conjugate is so you make sure you actually get rid of the square root of 3. So when you multiply negative square root of 3 times the square root of 3, you're going to get negative 3. And the square root gets canceled. Finally, we got this expression. How would we get rid of the radical in this one? Once again, we have to multiply by the conjugate. So 3 divided by 5 plus radical 2 times 5 minus radical 2 divided by 5 minus radical 2. Because 5 minus radical 2 is the conjugate of 5 plus radical 2. It's the same thing, except the signs have changed. Now, all you have to do is simplify. So for the numerator, we just use the distributive property. So 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times negative radical 2 is negative 3 radical 2. And for the bottom, all you have to do is FOIL. So 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times negative radical 2 is 5 negative radical 2. Radical 2 times 5 is 5 radical 2. And you see how the middle terms canceled out. And finally, radical 2 times negative radical 2 is just negative 2. And when we simplify this, we get 15 minus 3 radical 2 divided by 23. And I hope y'all enjoy the video. Happy New Year, guys. Have a nice day.